I was 29, alone in a crowded room, and nobody noticed. I'd walk into parties, work meetings, even coffee shops, and feel like a ghost. People's eyes would glaze over when I spoke, my jokes fell flat, and my inbox was a graveyard of unanswered messages. I wasn't just socially awkward, I was invisible. My confidence was shot, my friendships were fading, and I was convinced I was destined to be the guy nobody remembered. Then I stumbled across a book that hit me like a lightning bolt. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. One line burned into my brain. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. That sentence shattered my worldview. I'd spent my whole life trying to be interesting, to be liked, when all along I was doing it wrong. Let me take you back to where it all fell apart. Growing up, I was the kid who always had something to say. Too much, probably. I'd ramble about my favorite games, my big plans, anything to fill the silence. But by my mid-20s, I noticed people pulling away. Friends stopped texting back. Colleagues would nod politely and then turn to someone else. I remember one night at a bar, I spent 20 minutes telling a story about a work project, only to realize the group had started a new conversation without me. I laughed it off, but inside I was crumbling. I started overanalyzing every interaction. Did I talk too much? Was I boring? Why don't people like me? My mind became a torture chamber, replaying every cringe-worthy moment. The low point came at 28. I'd just moved to a new city for a job, hoping for a fresh start. I was excited. New place, new people, new me. But 6 months in, I had 0 real friends. I'd go to networking events, plaster on a smile, and hand out business cards. But nothing stuck. My phone was silent except for spam calls. I'd spend weekends binge-watching shows, eating takeout alone, wondering what was wrong with me. A coworker once told me, "You come on too strong, man. You're trying too hard." It stung, but I didn't get it. Trying hard was all I knew. I thought if I could just be funnier, smarter, or more impressive, people would want me around. I was wrong. One night, scrolling X at 1 a.m., I saw a post about how to win friends and influence people. Someone called it the Bible for human connection. I was skeptical. Self-help books always felt like scams. But I was desperate. I downloaded the audiobook and listened to it in one sitting. Carnegie's words hit me hard. A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. I realized I barely remembered people's names. I'd meet someone, shake their hand, and 5 seconds later, their name was gone. I was so focused on myself, my nerves, my stories, that I wasn't even seeing the people in front of me. That realization was a punch to the gut. I wasn't connecting because I wasn't present. I tested Carnegie's advice the next day. At a coffee shop, I struck up a conversation with the barista. Instead of talking about myself, I asked her about her day, her favorite drink to make. I used her name, Sarah, when I thanked her. Her face lit up. It was the first real conversation I'd had in weeks. That tiny moment gave me hope, but it also exposed how far I had to go. I'd spent years building walls, talking too much, listening too little, chasing approval instead of connection. My social life was a wreck because I didn't understand people. I didn't know how to make them feel seen, heard, or valued. The turning point came at a work conference. I was dreading it. Another chance to feel like an outsider. But I decided to try Carnegie's principles for real. I stopped trying to impress people. Instead, I asked questions. I listened. I remembered names. One guy, Mike, mentioned he was into hiking. Instead of changing the subject, I asked him about his favorite trails. We talked for an hour, and he invited me to join his hiking group. For the first time, I felt like I belonged. That night, I went home and wrote down every interaction I could remember. I was shocked. People responded when I showed genuine interest. Carnegie was right. Connection wasn't about me. It was about them. That conference was just the start. I kept experimenting, kept failing, kept learning. I'd slip back into old habits, monologuing, interrupting, forgetting names, but each time I'd catch myself and try again. Slowly, my life started to change. People texted me back. Invitations came. I wasn't just making friends. I was building real relationships. How to win friends and influence. People didn't just give me a playbook. It rewired how I saw the world. I stopped seeing people as obstacles or judges and started seeing them as stories, dreams, fears, just like mine. And that shift, it changed everything. That first taste of connection at the conference was like oxygen after holding my breath for years. I wasn't fixed, not by a long shot. My old habits of talking too much, trying to impress, and missing the moment still crept in. But I'd seen what was possible. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie had cracked open a door, and I was determined to walk through it. One of Carnegie's lines kept echoing in my head. Talk to someone about themselves and they'll listen for hours. I'd spent so long focused on being heard that I forgot how to listen. That realization was humbling, but it also gave me a map. I didn't need to be the loudest or the funniest in the room. I just needed to show up for other people. So, I built a system to make that happen, and it transformed my relationships, my career, and my life. Here's how I did it. The first step was learning to listen. Really listen. I used to listen while planning my next witty response, nodding like a bobblehead but missing half the conversation. Carnegie's advice to become genuinely interested in other people was my starting point. I started small. At work, I'd ask a coworker, Lisa, about her weekend. Instead of zoning out, I focused on her words. She mentioned baking cookies with her kids, and I asked follow-up questions. What kind? Did the kids help? Her eyes lit up, and we talked for 15 minutes. Later, I wrote her name and loves baking in a notebook. That one conversation led to a lunch invite, then a friendship. I made a rule. Every day, I'd have at least one real conversation where I listened more than I spoke. In a month, I went from knowing nobody at work to having 3 lunch buddies. Listening wasn't just a skill, it was a superpower. Next, I worked on remembering names. Carnegie said, "A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language." I used to be terrible at this, meeting someone and forgetting their name in seconds. I started using a trick. When I met someone new, I'd repeat their name 3 times in my head and tie it to something visual, like Tom with the red tie or Emma with the bright smile. At a networking event, I met a guy named Raj. I pictured him as Raj with the cool sneakers. We talked about his job in marketing, and when I saw him a week later, I said, "Hey Raj, how's that campaign going?" He was shocked, I remembered. That led to a coffee meetup and a freelance gig that paid $2,000. Names weren't just names, they were keys to connection. The third step was giving honest appreciation. Carnegie wrote, "Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise." I used to think compliments had to be grand or clever, but I was wrong. Small, genuine praise worked wonders. At a team meeting, I told a colleague, "Sarah, your presentation slides were so clear I actually understood the budget for once." She beamed and later helped me with a project I was stuck on. I made a habit of giving one sincere compliment a day. Not flattery, real stuff. Like telling my barista, "You always make my morning better with that smile." In 3 months, I noticed people gravitated toward me. My coworkers invited me to happy hours. My neighbor asked me to join a book club. Appreciation wasn't just kind, it built bridges. Then, I learned to ask better questions. Carnegie emphasized making people feel important, and questions were the tool. Instead of asking generic stuff like, "How's it going?" I got specific. At a friend's barbecue, I asked a guy, "What's the best trip you've ever taken?" He launched into a story about hiking in Peru, and we bonded over travel dreams. I started keeping a mental list of good questions. What's something you're proud of? What's a hobby you've always wanted to try? These sparked conversations that lasted hours, not minutes. My social calendar went from empty to overflowing. 2 dinner invites in 1 week, a group hike the next. Questions turned strangers into friends. Finally, I tracked my progress to stay motivated. I kept a simple journal: who I talked to, what I learned about them, and how the interaction went. Like, met Anna at yoga, loves sci-fi novels, invited her to coffee. Or, complimented Mike's report. He offered to help with my pitch. Seeing the entries pile up was addictive. In 6 months, I'd gone from 0 close friends to 8 people I could call at 2 a.m. My work network grew too. I landed a promotion after a manager noticed my people skills. I also tracked my failures, times I talked too much or forgot a name. Those stung, but they kept me honest. I wasn't perfect, but I was getting better. The results were life-changing. Before, I was lonely, anxious, and stuck. Now, I'm connected. My friendships are deeper. I've got a group chat that's active every day. My career's thriving. That $2,000 gig turned into a steady side hustle earning $10,000 a year. I'm happier too. I used to dread social events. Now I look forward to them. I even hosted a game night last month. 20 people showed up, and I didn't stress once. Carnegie's principles didn't just teach me how to win friends. They taught me how to see people, really see them. And when you see people, they see you back. The loneliness that once choked me is gone. Where I used to see blank stares and awkward silences, I now see smiles, conversations, and real connections. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie didn't just give me a playbook. It rewired my entire approach to life. That line, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you," became my mantra. I went from being the guy nobody remembered to someone with a calendar full of coffee dates, group hikes, and game nights. My inbox isn't a ghost town anymore. It's alive with messages from people who want to stay in touch. But this isn't just my story. It can be yours. You don't have to stay stuck in that cycle of feeling invisible or misunderstood. You can change how you see people, and in turn, how they see you. Let's be real. You're probably watching this, wondering if you can actually pull this off. Maybe you're shy, or you've been burned by bad friendships, or you just feel like nobody gets you. I've been there, sitting alone, convinced I was doomed to be the outsider. But here's the truth. Connection isn't about being perfect or charismatic. It's about showing up with intention. Carnegie's principles aren't magic. They're practical. They worked for me, a guy who couldn't keep a conversation going to save his life. And they can work for you. The moment you start listening, remembering names, giving praise, and asking good questions, you'll see the world shift. People will light up. Doors will open. And that gnawing loneliness, it'll start to fade. So, here's your challenge. Start today. Pick one thing from my journey and try it. Maybe it's listening, really listening to someone at work or school. Focus on their words, not your next line. Or try remembering one person's name this week. Say it out loud, tie it to an image, make it stick. Maybe give a genuine compliment. Tell someone they did something well and mean it. Or ask a great question. What's something you're passionate about right now? Do one of these today before you go to bed, then do it again tomorrow. Track your progress like I did. Write down who you talked to, what you learned, how it felt. In a week, you'll have a handful of moments that prove you're not invisible. In a month, you'll have connections you never thought possible. Think about what you're missing out on by staying in your shell. Every time you avoid a conversation, dodge a social event, or let fear stop you, you're robbing yourself of friendships, opportunities, maybe even love. I lost years to that fear, years of sitting alone, scrolling X, wishing things were different. But the second I started applying Carnegie's advice, be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise, my world expanded. I went from 0 friends to a group of 8 close ones in 6 months. I landed a side hustle worth $10,000 a year because I connected with the right person. You could be one conversation away from a new best friend, a dream job, or a moment that changes everything. But you have to act. This is your wake-up call. Don't wait for people to come to you. They won't. You have to show up first. Commit to one small step today. A conversation, a compliment, a question. Keep a journal to track your wins, even the tiny ones. Share your progress with someone, maybe a friend, maybe in the comments below. Tell us, what's holding you back from connecting? Who's one person you want to talk to this week? Make it real by saying it out loud. This channel is about building a life you're excited to live, surrounded by people who matter. If you're ready to stop feeling invisible and start building real relationships, hit that subscribe button. Join this community of people learning to see others and be seen. Every video here is packed with stories and tools to help you break through. Drop a comment right now. What's one thing you're going to try to connect with someone today? How many conversations did you have this week that felt real? Be honest. Let's start this together. You're not alone, and you don't have to be. The power to change how you see people and how they see you is in your hands. Start now.